This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
Hey, it's Austin James. Yes, I'm living with diabetes, but it doesn't have to define me. Thanks to the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor, I get real-time glucose readings throughout the day. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor is small and easy to wear, giving me the freedom to focus on my life as a parent and a musician. Now this is progress. You can get a free sensor at freestylelibre.us.
Offer available for people who qualify. Visit myfreestyle.us to see all terms and conditions. Certain exclusions apply. Data on file. Abbott Diabetes Care. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
When unprecedented times are all the time, it's time to start walking the talk with PwC. Leaders like you turn to PwC to see and stay ahead. Upskill your workforce, use intelligent automation, and transform big ideas into breakthrough outcomes. Explore the human-led, tech-powered solutions that help you thrive. It's all part of PwC. Learn more at pwc.com.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
And welcome back once again to the Skating Penguin Network, everyone. It is the evening of December 14th, 2024. It is I, Robbie, once again. Snail joining me as well here in just a second. The Penguins just wrapped up another road game in Canada, this time in Canadian capital of Ottawa against the Senators. A 3-2 overtime loss to Ottawa in this one. Penguins erased two third-period deficits. In Snail, it stings a bit, but the Penguins were extremely resilient in this game. And Linus Ullmark got the kind of a surprise start for the Senators, but he prevented this from being a game the Penguins won handily in regulation. Just an outstanding performance from Ullmark for the Senators.
Yep. He was the one concern on this road trip that I had, if he was going to get the start, because the Senators this was the second of a back-to-back for them. I would have gladly taken, is it Anton Forsberg?
I believe so. He was scratched early in the game, or early in warm-ups.
Yeah, he had some sort of weird injury. They had an e-bug situation if Ullmark were to go down. But yeah, like I said, Ullmark was really the only kind of scary thing about this road trip, and I think I said mandatory 4 points. If you have to go to overtime, then do it. And yeah, it's essentially kind of what happened. I also, there was some stat that I heard that Ullmark's never lost to the Penguins.
Quite possibly. I know he was in Boston for all those years as well. I believe he was in Buffalo for a stint too. And the Penguins have had good success against Buffalo. I don't have the stats on me right up front, but it would not surprise me, especially with his time in Boston. Boston being a team that has kind of been a thorn in the Penguins' side the last few years. So if Ullmark was in goal, it would not surprise me if if he was in fact beating the Penguins in those efforts. But the Penguins were down 1-0 early in this game. Tristan Jarry went for a little skate and left a wide open net for Thomas Chabot. And then nothing in the second period. Blake Lizotte, 7 goals on the season, gets he ties it. Drake Batherson gets his 13th of the season to put the Senators back in front. But the Penguins kept battling, and they kept throwing shots on goal. Chris Letang went pretty much coast to coast late in the second period with about 7 minutes left and fired a shot that found its way past Ullmark into the back of the net. It's 2-2. From that point on, it is goes to overtime where Brady Tkachuk gets the game winner on a shot that Tristan Jarry probably should have saved, but it is what it is at this point. The Penguins have no power play opportunities in this game. The Senators stayed out of the box. The Penguins had 2 penalties against that they killed both times. But as much as we're talking about Linus Ullmark, a couple iffy moments from Tristan Jarry in this one, but overall, Jarry, I'd say, put together another solid start, kind of continuing this run he's been on as of late. So, again, another positive sign for the most part from Tristan Jarry in this one.
Jarry played far better than I thought. I thought that him getting the back-to-back starts, you just never know with Jarry and his track record so far this season. But it was a goalie battle for like the first half of the game, and he was going toe-to-toe with Ullmark, who doesn't let a lot in. So, good. I don't fault Jarry too much. I think the only thing that had me a little bit frustrated was just the curl and drag overtime winner by Brady Tkachuk. I don't really. He'd been so sharp all game. I'm surprised that that's what got by him at that point. But that's kind of Jarry for you. He'll make some very unorthodox, spectacular saves. Usually coming when the Penguins are already down and out of a game. But when you need the save the most, it's when it happens to go 5-hole or whatever, like just blow by him somehow. And I thought Jarry was good. The one thing I wanted to touch on was Blake Lizotte. He's played in 9 games this season, has 7 goals, and he's at a point per game. I was a little curious. I saw Letang starting overtime. Obviously, he's been feeling it. I think he's been the best defenseman points-wise since the end of November in the National Hockey League, and I think he was coming into the game with 4 goals and like 4 assists or something like that. Gets another one tonight, putting him at 5 goals. I understand putting him out for overtime and Sid taking the face off. I'm just curious, like, Lazotte's been so hot. I was kind of hoping I'd see Lizotte in overtime. He's such a buzzsaw out there. But I'm not going to pick apart the overtime too much, but just kind of wanted to talk about Lizotte quickly, man. He has been, heralded as maybe the best off-season pickup of the year. Of the off-season, I mean, not the year, but in the off-season, he was kind of one of those sneaky Dubas moves, getting some youth, and man, he's looked good when he's healthy. He looks so good. He brings that energy, and I'm a big fan of the kid. Anyways, I'd like to maybe see he's playing so well, and I don't know, for some reason he Sully likes to bump his players, give them more opportunities when they're feeling it and hot. Just curious when Lizotte maybe is going to get a chance. I wouldn't mind seeing him take a shift in the top 6 and spark one of those lines. Or, maybe a little bit of overtime, maybe see him on a power play. But as far as this game goes, it was, glad they got a point out of it.
Yeah, for a while there, it looked like they were going to get straight up goal lead in this game, possibly walk out of Ottawa with nothing. We said they needed 4. I didn't want to see 2, so I guess we will meet in the middle and be fine with 3 out of these 2 games on the road in Canada, because 1 point's better than no points when you're trying to get every point you can. And a lot of people may look at the score tonight and see that the Stars didn't show up, but I don't think that's necessarily the case tonight, even though they didn't get on the scoreboard. Michael Bunting had 6 shots on goal. Sidney Crosby had 4 shots on goal. Crosby, there was a stretch in the second period where Crosby could have probably put up 2 or 3 points if it weren't for Linus Ullmark. Brian Rust had a pair of shots. Erik Karlsson had 3 shots. Owen Pickering even had 2 shots tonight. So the big names were creating chances. It's just Linus Ullmark was just better tonight. Again, he's a great goalie. Earned his contract this offseason, moved away from Boston, and Ottawa's record is probably not totally indicative of his play. Overall, still a great goaltender. Ottawa is 10-6-1 at home this year, so they are no no slouch, at least in their own building, and they are 15, 13, and 12 and 2. So I mean, they're not in the playoffs, but they're definitely they're not a Canadiens level team. They're much better than the team the Penguins just carried up and down the ice on Thursday night. So Ottawa, not a bad team. I mean, not the worst result. Again, could have just lost in regulation, got 0 points. Penguins do find a way to pull a point out of this. They leave Canada with 3 points, 2 against Montreal, and then the singular one tonight against Ottawa. And they take on the week out of 3 games, they take a 2 or a 3 of a possible 6. So they're 50% on points tonight, which was better than their points average throughout the season to this point. So another, I would call it a successful week. I think they battled back from that lopsided loss to the Avalanche, and now they get to return home again. And again, we said the schedule lightens up a little bit. They have the Kings at home on Tuesday, and then it's back to the road for another short road trip. This time they're staying in the country. First, they're going to a Nashville team that is, to put it lightly, bad. They have just not lived up to any of their expectations this year. Completely dumbfounding team the Predators have this year. And then they go, again, a tough opponent coming on Saturday. They go to Newark for a showdown with the high-powered New Jersey Devils, which should be a good test. The Devils currently are second in the Metro behind Washington, but the Devils are playing good hockey. They have a lot of good players on that team. Obviously, guys like Jack Hughes will be front and center in that one. Nico Hischier, someone to watch there. So, yeah, I mean, I think the overall takeaway, Snell, is it could have been worse. It could have been better. They get 50% of the points available to them this week. Now take 2 days off and gear up for another 3-game week next week.
Craven, the hunter, who uses all the methods of the animals.
Now, witness the making of a new Marvel villain.
Once you're on his list, there's only one way off.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is Craven the Hunter. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
Future you faces some big expectations. Work out more, go to bed earlier, and most importantly, make smart money decisions. Thankfully, today you has Bank of America. One place with tools and guidance to help balance tasks from budgeting to saving. So you can just be you with big plans. Do more with a bank that asks, what would you like the power to do? Explore our tips and more at bankofamerica.com/futureyou.
Looking for a pickup truck to get just about anything done? Look no further. The Chevy Silverado EV isn't just the most powerful Silverado ever, with next-level towing capability and technology. It also offers game-changing versatility with the available multi-flex midgate and tailgate, which means Silverado EV helps you carry large, bulky, and oddly shaped items up to nearly 11 feet in length. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit Chevrolet.com to learn more.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write a million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Yeah, there's points available in this next week. I think you said Nashville. I believe they've finally found their way to the basement of the league. I think they are now officially in last place point-wise. That could have changed, but either way, if they're not, they're hovering right around it. And Robbie, not just the big trades working out. I mean, this team wasn't even a bad team before they picked up Stamkos and Brady Shea and Jonathan Marchessault. But they've taken a significant drop. I mean, no one would have ever seen this coming. So kind of odd. It's not this team. It's one of those weird teams right now where Nashville, I could see them beating the Pens. Just like they might just have the game of their season and be able to take one. I mean, they've still got UC Saros in net. They've still got Roman Josi. I mean, it's not like this team couldn't hurt you. And I just think it's one of those ones the Penguins need to be wary and just, like we've said so many times this season, like the Penguins just, if they can't beat, as long as they don't beat themselves, they have a pretty good chance of beating a lot of these teams, whether they're good or bad. The LA Kings, that's coming up on the schedule too, and that's a stingy hockey team that's not going to give you a whole lot.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be moving and shaking to kind of to get things past. They got a good blue line, they've got good forwards, they've got pretty good depth. They're, I think, second in the Pacific right now, or I mean, I could be wrong on that, but I swear they were second in the division last I looked. So yeah, points are on the table though. I mean, the Penguins have shown that they've taken a step since the beginning of the season. They're not the team that they were when we were pulling our hair out and, already wondering if the season had been washed down the toilet. This is not that same team. This is a team that can hang around with good teams and they can wallop bad teams. So get back from Canada, get rested up, and I think I touched on it the last time we did a game recap. I'm curious. Sid's fighting it right now, dude. Like it was obvious again today. Like, just he seems like kind of struck with maybe a little bit of just I don't even know what you want to really call it, but it's something's off with him. I don't think he's injured or anything like that, but man, the guy just it's just not going in for him, which we're used to, and he's So I think that if the Penguins are to finish out the stretch here, we got the Christmas break coming up, so that'll take some time off the calendar, but if the Penguins look to finish up December, in the positive, Sid's got to find his way onto the score sheet and start scoring again. And also, dude, we didn't touch on it. I said injured, and it popped into my head. Pettersson went into the boards awkwardly. Yeah. That looked painful. I'm not in anywhere near as good a shape as Pettersson, but if that was me, I would have snapped in half. That looked super painful. Didn't return to the game. Where are we at with maybe like a Pettersson week-to-week type injury? If that it looked
did not come back after going down in this game. It was Marcus Pettersson, so that will be depending on the severity. Obviously, we might not know anything until Monday. I'm assuming the Penguins will be completely off tomorrow from any team activity, so we probably won't know more until Monday. And I'd say at the most we're gonna know is a generic upper body, lower body, and then either a day-to-day or week-to-week type situation. So it'll be vague, but hopefully Monday we have a little more clarity on Marcus Pettersson. And one thing to point out here, you were talking about Crosby fighting it. I just saw a tweet as I was skimming through here. Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin have factored in on just one of the Penguins' last 38 goals. They've scored one of the Penguins' last 38 goals. They've obviously had assists and stuff, but the depth scoring has definitely been there. But at some point, those guys have to find a way to get a puck in the net. Crosby's still stuck on 600 goals, even after you kind of thought that maybe that was going to be the monkey, get that out of the way, and then it would start pouring in for him. But maybe now he just needs to get a goal, whether it be even strength, shorthanded, power play, or simply just an empty net goal to get back into the groove here. And you mentioned the Nashville Predators. They are currently 31st out of 32 teams in the league, 2 points better than the Chicago Blackhawks, who bring up the rear at the moment. And for as much as we, like you said, pulled our hair out about the Penguins this year, they are 9 points better than the Nashville Predators this year. And I'd say the Nashville Predators had much higher expectations when the puck dropped back in October, as it came to winning a Stanley Cup than the Penguins did. So a complete lost season for the Predators. The Kings are just what the Kings do. They're going to be incredibly frustrating to play against. You're going to need great goaltending and hope you get a few bounces. Luckily, we get them at home rather than out in LA. The Kings are almost unbeatable at home this season so far. And then Jersey. Jersey is the one team in the NHL that has more games played than the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jersey right now sits at 33. the Penguins, Jets, and Sharks all sit at 32. So, they are second in the division right now behind the Capitals. But the road ahead, there's 2 playoff teams in there, but I think they are games the Penguins can win, especially LA at home. And then Nashville is a game that, kind of like the Montreal game, if you want to be a serious hockey team, you have to go out and find a way to beat that team on Thursday, whether it be home or away, in this case away. So, another important week. There's only 4 games now between right now, tonight, the 14th, and the Christmas break. The 23rd is their last game before the holidays. So the window is tight, but there is some time to get some points here before an extended break for Christmas. So that's all I really have this evening. The Penguins lost 3-2 in overtime to Ottawa, as we said. Lizotte and Letang get the goals. Omar was the definitive star of this game for the Senators, keeping the Penguins at bay. So, Snell, do you have anything?
Nope, not really. Yeah, I thought that was a good breakdown. I was going to ask you, do you think that there's any way the Predators can salvage this season and make the playoffs?
I mean, at this point, we think the Penguins are in a tough spot right now. The Penguins are 31 points and technically only a point out of a playoff spot, though the games in hand are working against the Penguins at the moment.
Yeah, big time.
But if you look at the West right now, Colorado is the second wild card spot with 34 points. Nashville is at 22 points. That's a 12-point difference, and right now Colorado has that game in hand with them. It's a little early to be looking at games in hand, but man alive, that is a 12-point difference with 52 games to play. It's a climb because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 6 teams in between you and Colorado. It's not just about chasing down Colorado. It's hoping that one of those teams doesn't get hot and gets going here in this as we approach the midway point of the season as well. So it's a lot of ground to make up on not just that wild card spot, but you got to beat the teams and hope they lose. The teams ahead of you lose, and you got to beat them when you play them.
They might be in the strongest division too.
Yeah, they have an absolute gauntlet to run. If I'm Nashville, I'm probably drawing up a trade deadline plan to get off as many pieces as possible and rebound for next year. You know that you're going to have guys like Stamkos and Marchessault, Saros, Yossi, all those guys back next year. I don't even know, a coaching change at this point I don't think really makes a difference unless you're just looking to make some noise and make some headlines.
Or mercy, if you want Burnett.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, and even looking the Predators in their last 10 are 2-5-3. It's not like they're getting hot right now and maybe making some headway. They're just a bad hockey team. That's just as simple as it is. And it's like Chicago. Chicago's already firing people and will be selling pieces. If I'm Nashville, I'm probably packing it in this year, trying to get some what I can value-wise for guys that are going to be traded, and then just start looking ahead to next year. I know Barry Trotz isn't the kind of guy to think like that, but they have a much. We think the Penguins have a hard fight for the playoffs. Nashville's is nearly mountainous at this point. I just don't see them being able to turn it around, especially when they're just as bad now as they have been all year. They're not on a hot streak, trying to climb. They're just bad. They're 2-5-3 in their last 10. That's not going to cut it.
Yeah, especially with the.
I mean, if you're a team like Nashville, you have some good pieces there. Why don't you maybe swallow your pride and see if you can tank to win? Give yourself the best odds to win the draft lottery, and you get a piece for now and the future.
I agree. I mean, that's probably, if I was a Nashville fan, that's where I'd be. That's where my head would be at. But try telling, a proud, Stamkos or Marchessault or, I mean, they traded their big goalie prospect away this summer because they were just doubling down on Saros and going big game hunting. They might write a book about this season one day.
Yeah, it's not good in Nashville this season. Whatever their grand plan was did not come to fruition this year, and they kind of a wasted year down in the Music City. So
Tough, but that's the way it goes in sports sometimes. I credited Trot so much at the beginning of the year. I think when you and me and what's that fella's name from the other Penguin?
Hunter
Hodes came on. I think I had Ricard Raquel being the 31 plus goals, but then I think I said something about the Stanley Cup gonna go back to Nashville or something like that. So you win some, you lose some. Rob, before we wrap up here, just to touch back on Marcus Pettersson's injury, they've already got Pickering up playing top 4 minutes. I think he just against the Habs, I think he had hit his season high in minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If he's out week to week, they're going to need to call somebody up to fill a void on that left side. They've already got Graves playing, much to my chagrin. Jack St. Ivan, he's not an option for them. They've had Ryan Shea, in and out of the lineup at times this season, who was pretty solid for them, but haven't seen him on the roster recently. You think they're going to reach into their bag down in Wilkes-Barre they got a couple defensemen playing pretty well down there, one of them being Mac Hollowell, who's in 20 games, he's got 15 assists for 15 points and only a -1. Some of their D have pretty big minuses. And then the other one is one that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, he may have had a game with the Penguins at some point, maybe last season or the season before. But Isaac Beliveau, he's a +8. He's not lighting it up. He's got a goal and a couple assists for 4 points. I thought just because I think we've seen him up once or twice before. Do you think someone gets a debut with the Penguins, or do you think that maybe they're just going to the stranger that they know in Ryan Shea?
I think Shea would definitely be the first option, but would not be surprised if we don't see like a Holloway or someone else. Obviously, Jack St. Ivany, like you said, not an option because of injury. Beliveau, I know Beliveau's played in some preseason games. Can't say for sure whether or not he's played in a regular season game. If he has, it's been 1, maybe 2. But no, would not surprise me if we see a call-up early next week, depending on the severity of Marcus Pettersson's injury when we find out more about that. But I think they'll go with Shea as your first man back in the lineup and then a call-up of a younger guy. But if Pettersson does go down, Owen Pickering, welcome to your future. He will be thrust into the limelight more than he is already. A big opportunity that would be for him. So something to keep an eye on as well if Pettersson is out for a foreseeable time.
Yeah, right on. I figured that was probably what you were thinking. So that's the reality, though, that the Penguins are probably going to face. You just hope that it's not super long-term, because we've talked about it before, whether the Penguins are probably in a playoff spot or not. Pettersson was probably going to be a part of their trade deadline plans. And, the trade deadline's still a ways away, but dude, that when you see the lower body like that, like stretching and going different directions, you just never know if it's you just pray it's not an ACL or an MCL or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, man, it'll be interesting to see over the next couple of days. Wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of news. Also, the roster freeze is coming up pretty soon.
It is. And, it comes up for Christmas. Yep.
Yep. According to Elliot Friedman on his, I think it was his Friday podcast, he does whatever it's called, 32 Thoughts. He had said that the league is bubbling right now, and he wouldn't be surprised if there's some movement before that. We saw, I think it was today, if not late last night, Anaheim Ducks trade longtime defenseman Cam Fowler to St. Louis. I don't know. You think the Penguins got a move in their back pocket before the freeze, or do you like the way that they're kind of clicking right now?
I kind of like the way everything's clicking right now. I don't think they're going to be the way they're playing right now. I don't think you're going to see any kind of rush move or panic move. If it's anything, it's going to be a more meticulous move that's been planned out. They're not going to press the emergency button at this point, I don't think. So I'd be surprised if we saw anything. I'd say significant. I'm not saying you won't see any kind of maybe minor deal. Never put that never say never on those, but any kind of thing significant, I don't see happening before the holidays.
Yeah, well, it would be interesting to see. But
yep.
Robbie, that's all I really got regarding this game, and yeah.
All right, so the Penguins are overtime losers to the Ottawa Senators this evening by a score of 3-2. They are back in action on Tuesday against the Kings back in Pittsburgh. So, as always, Snail and I will be back for that one as well, and then maybe a mailbag on Monday, depending on the schedules between us two. So, look for that tweet to go out sometime on Sunday after you guys listen to this episode. So, for Robbie, I am Snail. We will talk to you guys next week.
For Robbie, I'm Snail.